I want you to just see another image of a God and understand that these are not humans. Oh, you know what? That's the wrong book. I have two books open here. I'm sorry. One 128. You don't have 128? See these? You don't have this one somewhere?
No, sir.
129?
That's not 28. I've
on
seen
the
that.
other
It's
side.
next
It's
page.
on 129.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 128. That's
Okay.
128, but it's the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just flipped out.
So notice, these gods are not pictured as in a human form. That's the point. So up until now, all gods have been either in a zoo type or the eschatology showing part man, part animal. I wish I had I didn't bring it.
What?
The God of the Egyptians, where it actually showed the judgment scene and it had the,
That should be in here somewhere, shouldn't it? Thought it would.
no, this, the one I could use would be the fold out, but here are some other concepts. Like, this is actually the Immaculate Conception picture here. But notice all the characters, or even on the front, okay? It doesn't have a human head. So they're showing you the attribute or the meaning behind an idea that is equated to the God they're talking about, okay? And that's what's called a netter.
What's called a what?
Netter. N-E-T-E-R. Okay, I'll pass this around because here you can see it. Thought and Horus binding together the throne of Osiris, Isis, blah, blah. And you can look at some of the characters here and it's real easy to see that they don't have human heads. Okay, then the paragraph, Her was one of the earliest names given to the great God.
He who came to earth in the form of a man.
Right. To give the message to the people for guidance for the future generations.
Now, was Ha'or, is he a god of the solar cult? Or are they going back?
They're bringing stuff from, that actually is really old.
Ha'or,
Yes, that's a real old deity. So that actually goes back to Stellar.
stellar.
Okay, but they're bringing that concept, the same, okay. Here, you got, is this the next page in you guys' book, hopefully?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see the God, Temu in human form. So they're now giving them, okay, now, is the other side of your other page look like this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you easily see the difference. This one has a human face, on the other side, not so much. See that? You have Horus seated in the boat, resting on the waters of heaven. Cookie, you see that?
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at it.
Hey,
Right.
okay, now even look at right under what it says on this picture. The primary form was the serpent zoo type. So this guy way back when was portrayed as the serpent type. The serpent was that thing that drank up all the water. I'm going way back now. When you started out at her, you had Horus 1, and then you had Set. Okay. Now, when this gets flipped over, so Set becomes equated with negativity, the dark, the bad, and the fight. Okay. Now, keep in mind, at the equator, they're equal. The further I go north, the less I can see of the south. Everything in the north becomes dominant and good. Everything in the south becomes old and bad. Okay, so they then depict it as the serpent who did bad, as opposed to Horus, who brings the light, the life giver. Okay. Now also notice on this page, the heads, stuff on the head, the hats. If you don't know this, which I've said before, but I'll say it again, those two hats right there that you see on this, the one crown is worn by the Pope today. The other one is worn by the head of the Greek Orthodox Church today. The flat one with the feather in the back, it's called a kufi in Africa. If you see Africans running around with a little flat hat that they call a kufi, that's it. But the one with the feather on the back of it is worn by the head of the Greek Orthodox Church, if you ever see him in his formal garb. Now, we don't really see too much about Greek Orthodox today anywhere. But if you know that there's two popes, the Greek Orthodox Church has a pope just like the Romans have a pope. Okay.
Before you leave where you are, where you finished reading on page 216, where you said A.R.K was one of the greatest names given to the great God. Remember you were reading that? Mm-hmm. It says he came to earth in the form of a man. If you go down a little further in that same paragraph, it is said in the ritual that he instructed his brothers, 4 brothers or disciples, up to the regions of the primary mystery. The mystery, this is my point, the mystery within the veil that was rent in death, which was before all mysteries, because it is the mystery of the one eternal God and the Son who issues from the Father in his likeness, which two are one. So that's in our Christian story.
This is the formation of your Christian
That's
story.
the formation,
It's
yeah.
the Holy
This
Trinity.
is-
And we're still in 100,000 years out.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. That what this chapter is showing you, and I'm glad you're seeing it, is this is how the Christian story begins to develop, and this is where it's developing from. It's taken right out of the Egyptian deities and mystery system, and it's becoming personalized. And once you personalize it, you have now created Christianity as you know it today. The point being that these things were never human until they start to manipulate the story.
Do you have any?
Also, there's no males until now, if you notice. All deities prior to solar time are female. Now we're beginning to get the masculine interpretation, and masculinity is becoming predominant. Okay?
So, do you have any commentary on what may have precipitated the change from the zoo type to the human type, to where these different attributes of the great God, were personified, with a zoo type? Like, what may have been taking place, maybe socially or psychologically or whatever, that may have precipitated
Well,
the
two
need for that change?
things. we're talking about something here. Now this is 100,000. So keep in mind, the original story is 600,000 years ago. So you're 500,000 years before now is where the story really started. So over time, you lose some of that. And all this information is being passed down orally. So you can tell how much of it you're going to retain when you're doing this by mouth.
It's right at the bottom of that paragraph, which is almost verbatim what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
Next paragraph where it says, this shows.
It shows how the people of the later generations after the great God in spirit in the form of a man had visited the earth to give his message to man in the future generations, had portrayed his coming and going as the earliest period in the stellar code. And we shall now see how they depicted in
this symbolic
This is
imagery,
symbolic imagery.
and how it has been carried on through the various codes ever since.
That's right.
There are quite sufficient records still extant to prove this, notwithstanding the different representations and traditions which arose during the various cults that follow one after another. Much of the first or original message, no doubt, as he said, was lost, especially as all the sacred message given by God to man has been handed down orally, as until the stellar cult, there were no writings. Even then, up to the time of the solar cult, all writings were in glyphs or hieroglyphics only.
So that two things there should come to mind. If everything is written in hieroglyphs, only the very priest class are really trained on how to decode or read the glyphs. Same thing today. I mean, most of us right now, unless we really did some serious work, could not go decode those hieroglyphs. Okay? Now, let me say this because it's important. Cookie and I was talking about being senior citizens, but for you young people, James Henry Breasted in Chicago University is the father of Egyptology in America. He's an important snake you need to remember because Breasted, B-R-E-A-S-T.
Is that the one over there destroying?
Yes. He literally right now is painting over the hieroglyphs and plastering over a lot of this information. Understand where we are, okay? Not only are we dawning the new age, but now you can pull this data up on your electronic gadgets. So the last thing people want you to know is what we're talking about here and what it really looked like and what it really meant. And primarily because as more and more people go to Egypt, they're understanding these people were black. If you look at the actual walls and the pictures on the walls, it's very clear. If they have a white gown on and the face is brown, then, the story about, well, it got like that because they were dirty. Really? My face got dirty, but my outfit didn't? So people are now understanding, hey, this civilization that we keep going, looking at and understanding was unbelievable. You have to understand something. These people that we have are called the ancient Egyptians, who are nothing more than us, okay? That's the only people on earth that have a science actually dedicated to studying them. Egyptology is a science at the university. You can go get a master's and doctorate in Egyptology. You know of any other people they treat like that?
There's no European-tology.
There's no nothingtology except, so these guys must have had something awful daggum special that we not only, our whole world is predicated and modeled around what they did. America is called the New Egypt today. Everything that you have in America is really predicated and modeled after what these guys did.